Welcome back, chemists. So we've talked so far about what acids and bases are, how to classify them, and lately how to name them. So now we're going to put it all together and talk about what happens when an acid and base mix. And actually, this is a review because if you remember back in November when we learned about classifying equations, one of them was a neutralization reaction. And that's what's happening when an acid and base mix together. So you can see here that I have a little formula of what will happen. You have an acid and a base. What they're going to do is they're going to form salt and water. Okay, remember a salt is any ionic compound and water, H2O, we know that. You can also write it as HOH if that's easy for you. So, and just remember, acids and bases are always dangerous because they always end in a salt. I know you're laughing. All right, and then there's also an example right here. So we have hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. Notice they're ending in a salt, sodium chloride, and your water, H2O. Okay, so now besides being able to tell me it's a neutralization reaction, I want you to be able to predict the products of a neutralization reaction. So how do you do that? If you look, we know that the products are always going to be water and salt. The formula for the salt can be written by taking the beginning of the base and the ending of the acid. So if you look at my example here, I have hydrochloric acid and strontium hydroxide. To figure out, we know we have the water, right? So we could add that first if we want. And we can write it either way. But to figure out the other product, I'm just going to balance the strontium and the chlorine. So if I look at my periodic table, strontium has a +2 charge and chlorine has a -1 charge. So when I figure out the formula, I can do my crisscross and I get SrCl2. Okay? Now, that's not the end though. What I want to make sure I do is I go back and balance it. So to balance, you're just going to look at each atom on each side like you know how to do. For some of you, it might be helpful to rewrite the whole equation. But when I look, I notice first of all that there's 2 chlorine on this side, but only 1 here. So I'm going to put a 2 right here. Okay, which means I just increased my amount of hydrogen. But if you notice here with my hydroxide, there's 2. So I'll just put a 2 in front of the water. So I'd get 2, 1, 2, 1. All right. So let's do another practice problem. It says create a balanced equation for a reaction between your acid and base here. So again, we know we're going to have water, so we can go ahead and write that in. I'm going to write it as HOH this time, so it's easier to balance later. And now to figure out my next product, I have to look at the end of the acid and the beginning of the base. So I'll do it up here, so I have room to write it below. Aluminum, I know, has a +3 charge, and sulfite has a -2 charge. So when I go ahead and do my crisscross, I'm going to get Al2, SO3, in parentheses, 3. Am I done? No, you said. I have to go back and balance it. So again, when I balance, I want to make sure all of the atoms and ions are the same on both sides. So I would get 3, 2, 6, 1. Okay. Now this would be a great time to pause and go back if you're not sure how I got those numbers. And again, you're welcome to stop by during my office hours or shoot me an email. We're going to do one more problem, and then you get to do your form to show me that you have mastered this. So problem 2, we're going to put it all together. You're going to review a little bit the naming because you're going to write the formula for hydrofluoric acid and barium hydroxide. Then you're going to predict the products and balance the equation. So let's start with hydrofluoric here. So remember your ick is showing that it's an ion. So I would get H, which is a +1, and F is a -1. So it's already balanced. And then barium hydroxide. Okay, barium has a +2. Hydroxide's a -1. So when I balance them, I get BaOH with a 2 there. Okay, so now it's time to predict my products. We should know by now the first one's water. And then again, they're dangerous because they're going to give us a salt. To figure my salt, I'm going to take the end of the acid and the beginning of the base. I'll do it down here so we have more room. So barium is a positive 2, fluorine is a negative 1. So when I balance them, I get BaF2. All right, so I'm going to go in here and write it. And again, pardon my penmanship, this is still a little new to me. And my last step, I'm going to go ahead and balance it, which this one, we don't have too many, so we'll go pretty fast. We'll have 2, 1, 1, 2. And that's how to write neutralization reactions. If you need help, feel free to watch this again or find me on office hours. You're going to do a form to show me you've mastered this. Have a great day, chemists.